Welcome students. I am Dr. Smita Sharma and we'll be starting a new chapter, oscillators. I have briefly discussed oscillators in my previous lecture, and today we'll start all that is in your syllabus about oscillators. So first of all, we'll quickly go through the definition of the oscillator. So oscillators are electronic circuits that generate a continuous periodic waveform. That is, it can give a continuous waveform. Either it can be a sine wave, square wave, or any type of wave at a precise frequency, and for that it uses DC input, that is supply voltage. So it can also be termed as, it is basically an amplifier having a positive feedback or regenerative feedback. What do you mean by regenerative feedback? That is, it is in phase with the input signal. Feedback is always provided from output to the input. So if the output that is being provided into the input is in phase with the input signal, then we say that as positive feedback. So oscillators work because they overcome the losses of the feedback resonator circuit, either in form of a capacitor, inductor, or both in the or combination of the both. And for this they require a DC energy, and the frequency is determined by the resonant circuit that is being made. This we'll be discussing in detail in the next slides. So oscillators are self-sustaining circuits generating an periodic output waveform at a precise frequency. It can generate variable frequency, but for a particular instant it provides only one type of frequency. So this is the basic definition of the oscillator. Now we'll discuss the necessary requirements for an oscillator. So for any electronic circuit to operate as an oscillator, it must have the following three characteristics. First is some form of amplification should always be there. Second, a positive feedback should always be present, and a frequency determined feedback network. A feedback network that determines the frequency at which oscillator will oscillate or will provide you an AC signal. So it must have, in order to work like this, it must have a following essential components. First of all, in order to provide amplification, it should have an amplifying device. It can be an operational amplifier or a bipolar transistor as required by the circuit. Next, for determination of a for making of a feedback network and a resonant network, RLC combination is required, and most important is that no external AC input is required. Only DC supply voltage is to be connected in the oscillator. So an oscillator has a small signal feedback amplifier with an open loop gain equal to or slightly greater than 1 for oscillations to start, but to continue oscillation the average loop gain must return to unity. This what we are saying, this that basically oscillator is a small signal feedback amplifier whose open loop gain, whose gain should be equal to or slightly greater than 1, and this condition is called the Barkhausen criteria. So according to Barkhausen criteria, the open loop gain should be equal to 1 or greater than, rather it should be greater than 1, and when the oscillations start, that this gain should become equal to unity. This is the necessary requirement for an oscillator to. Now we'll discuss the basic oscillator feedback circuit. So oscillators are circuits that generate a continuous voltage output waveform at a required frequency with the values of inductors, capacitors or resistor forming a frequency selective resonant tank circuit and a feedback network. So feedback network is being and the frequency at which oscillator will be oscillating is decided by the feed R, L and C. These the values, the particular values of RLC decide the frequency at which oscillator will oscillate. The feedback network created is an attenuation network which has a gain less than 1 and starts oscillation when A beta is greater than 1 and which returns to unity once the oscillation commences. So this is the diagram and a block diagram of a oscillator feedback circuit. We can see here there is no input is being provided. This is the amplifier circuit and this is the attenuator or the feedback network that this whole combination makes an oscillator. A brief go through of the gain factor, what that we are saying A beta. AV is the gain of the amplifier and V is the input provided and V output is the voltage that is being provided at the output, and beta is the feedback fraction, the part of the output voltage that is being fed to the input. So and A beta, what is A beta? A beta is the loop gain and 1 plus A beta is known as the feedback factor, and finally we can find out the closed loop gain GV is equals to A upon 1 plus A beta. This is brief outline of what oscillators are basic oscillator circuit is being discussed. This you must have been studied in UG classes, so we are taking it in very. Now we'll discuss the type of oscillators. So oscillators can be divided into many categories on the type of what type of waves they are providing, what type of resonant circuit they are using, what type of amplifying device they are using. There can be several categories, but broadly oscillators are divided into two. First is the sinusoidal oscillators. Sinusoidal oscillators are also called harmonic oscillators, and generally they are LC tuned feedback or RC tuned feedback type oscillators. What are sinusoidal oscillators? The oscillators that produce a sine wave. They generate a purely sinusoidal waveform which is of constant amplitude and frequency. This we'll be discussing in detail. The other type is the non-sinusoidal oscillators. They are also known as relaxation oscillators and they generally generate complex non-sinusoidal waveform. They can generate square wave, sawtooth wave or any type of complex wave, and there occurs a change of condition of stability from one state to another. There is always change of state present there. For example, it can be a square wave, a triangular wave, sawtooth wave type waveforms. These also they are also called multivibrators, and we'll be discussing these type of oscillators also in detail. So first we'll take up sinusoidal oscillators. So now sinusoidal oscillators can also be categorized into several. They can fall into various type of categories, but on the basis of resonant circuit, type of resonant circuit that we are using, it can be divided into three categories. First category is called LC oscillators. LC oscillators are so termed because it is a type of oscillator where LC tank circuit is used for giving the required positive feedback for sustaining the oscillations. We'll be discussing two type of LC oscillators. First is the Hartley oscillator, and second we will discuss the Colpitts oscillator. Now, next category of sinusoidal oscillators are the RC oscillators. Now, RC oscillators are the oscillator that use a combination of an amplifier along with RC feedback network to produce an output oscillation due to phase shift between the stages. So here the resonant in LC oscillator, the resonant tank circuit is a combination of L and C. In RC oscillator, the feedback network comprises of R and C combination. We'll be discussing two types of oscillators here also. One is the Wien-Bridge oscillator and second is the phase shift oscillator. Now the third category of sinusoidal oscillator is the crystal oscillators. Now crystal oscillators is basically an electronic oscillator circuit that uses piezoelectric material or a crystal made up of piezoelectric material. Now what is piezoelectric material? Piezoelectric material, some crystals have certain property that if they are subjected to an to a DC voltage on the two faces of the crystal, then the other two faces of the crystal starts vibrating. Or if we can term it in reverse, that if we apply mechanical pressure on the two faces of the crystal, then other two faces of the crystal develop an alternating EMF. So this is the basic reason of generation of an AC signal. So we'll not be discussing it, but I have given you the brief idea of how crystal oscillators are made. Now, first of all, in sinusoidal oscillator, we'll be taking LC oscillators. So here in this lecture, we'll first discuss the basic LC tank circuit. How LC oscillator tank circuit works. So, in order to explain LC oscillator tank circuit, we'll be discussing a very small LC combination that we have discussed in small UG classes. We'll be discussing it again. So as you can see from the diagram, see here, this is L is provided and C is provided, and they are combined together by a key. This is a two-way key. If the key is connected to A, then capacitor is connected to the battery, and if it is connected to B, then it is in closed circuit with L. So LC tank circuit consists of an inductive coil and a capacitor, as you can see from the diagram. We all know the capacitor stores energy in form of an electrostatic field, and the inductive coil stores energy in form of electromagnetic field. First of all, the capacitor, this circuit is, after making this circuit, first of all the capacitor is connected to the battery by putting the key to A position. when the what happens, capacitor starts charging. So it gets fully charged. When the capacitor gets fully charged, the position of the key is moved from A to B. Now what happens when we connect it to B? The charge capacitor is now parallel combination with the inductive coil. So there is no connection with the battery. So capacitor begins to discharge through the coil. Now what happens as the capacitor starts discharging? The potential developed across C starts falling, and as a result a current flows and the current through the coil starts rising up. As the potential decreases, the current starts flowing and this current starts growing in the coil. This rising current sets up an electromagnetic field around the coil, as you can see from the diagram. This what happens because of this electromagnetic field. The electromagnetic field resists the flow of current. It starts resisting the flow of current. The process continues till the capacitor C completely discharges to the energy that was initially stored in the capacitor as an electrostatic field. Now the energy that was stored in the capacitor C gets the energy here was in form of electrostatic field, and now this energy has been transferred to L in form of electromagnetic field in the coil windings. This is the first stage has been completed. Now what happens? Again we'll be seeing the second part, that what happens now. As there is no external voltage in the circuit, no external voltage is here in this circuit, to maintain the current within the coil, it starts to fall as electromagnetic field begins to collapse. So what happens? Initially the capacitor was discharging. When the capacitor gets completely discharged, now there is no voltage or battery that will provide again the flow of current, that will maintain the flow of current. So the current starts decreasing. As a result, electromagnetic field begins to collapse. A back EMF is induced in the coil, and now we know by the property of the coil, when the current starts decreasing, it again opposes the decrease of the current and an induced EMF is developed in the opposite direction, keeping the current flowing in its original direction. This current, now what happens? This current charges the capacitor C, but now in opposite direction. The polarity is opposite. C continues to charge up until the current reduces to 0, and now the electromagnetic field of the coil has been collapsed completely. By that time capacitor charges to the required value in opposite direction with having opposite polarity. So the energy originally introduced into the circuit through the switch has been returned to the capacitor, which again has an electrostatic voltage across it, although it is now of opposite polarity. Now what happens? Capacitor starts discharging again through the coil, and the whole process again is repeated. The polarity of the voltage changes as the energy is passed back and forth between the capacitor and L. Every time C gives it to L and then L gives it to C, the polarity keeps on changing. And this results in AC type sinusoidal voltage and current waveform. This process then forms the basis of LC oscillator tank circuit. And theoretically, this cycle back and forth will continue indefinitely. Theoretically, it will continue indefinitely, but we know there are energy losses when energy moves from capacitor to L, whether due to resistance or air resistance or many other factors. So slowly and slowly the energy depletes and the oscillations stops. So however this I have written because things are not perfect. Every time energy is transferred from C to L and back from L to C, some energy losses occur which decay the oscillations to zero over time. As we can see from a swing, when we push the swing, it starts oscillating, but after some time the oscillation slow down and ultimately they die out. The same thing happens between L and C. This oscillatory action of passing energy back and forth would continue indefinitely if it was not for energy losses within the circuit. Now, it might have been continued indefinitely if the energy losses would have not been occurred. So, where are these energy losses created? The electrical energy is lost in resistance of the inductors, the dielectric of the capacitor, and in radiation from the circuit. Heat, in form of heat, some energy gets lost and the oscillation steadily decreases until they die all away completely and the process stops. Now, what is the technique in order to allow not to die these oscillation? We can provide every time when the energy switches from C to L and L to C, we can calculate the energy losses and provide that amount of energy to the circuit. In that case, LC oscillations will continue indefinitely. Then in practical LC circuit, the amplitude of the oscillator voltage decreases at each half cycle of the oscillation and will eventually die away to zero. Such type of oscillations that go on decreasing with time are called damped oscillations. So, in order to continuously obtain sustained oscillations, we have to provide some extra energy to the tank circuit. This is the basic outline of how a tank circuit and oscillator resonant circuit works. Now in the next lecture, we will be discussing Hartley oscillator and Colpert oscillator. They are basic LC oscillators that we can study. You must have been studying a Hartley oscillator and Colpert oscillator in UG classes. Now we'll discuss it again here in the next lecture. Thank you.